It was a dark and stormy night in the small town of Ravenwood. The rain fell in thick drops, and thunder echoed across the horizon. Sarah, an intrepid young woman fascinated by the supernatural, had heard about a place that had attracted her curiosity since childhood, the Circus Macabre. The fame of the Circus Macabre spread like a whispered secret among the locals. It was known for being the darkest and most terrifying circus anyone could visit. The stories told about the circus were full of supernatural horrors and macabre attractions, and no one knew for sure whether they were true or just urban legends. Sarah has always had a deep interest in the unknown and the paranormal. She used to rummage through old books about ghosts, monsters, and unexplained phenomena. Her friends considered her brave and fearless, and she never backed down from a challenge. That was exactly what led her to convince her friends to visit the Circus Macabre that night. Gathering a group of equally brave friends, Sarah explained to them about her obsession with the supernatural and the promise of a once-in-a-lifetime experience at the Circus Macabre. The friends' excitement and curiosity were contagious, and they agreed to venture into the unknown. As they approached the circus site, the atmosphere became increasingly oppressive. A dense spectral fog enveloped the place, creating a feeling of mystery and uneasiness. A rusty sign indicated the way to the entrance to the Circus Macabre, and, under the light of flickering lamps, they advanced towards the unknown. Upon arriving at the circus entrance, they were greeted by a sinister clown with pale makeup and a macabre smile. Its eyes looked hypnotic, and its sharp teeth gleamed in the dim light. He extended a worn, gloved hand to greet them, making his friends shudder involuntarily. Sarah, determined to show her courage, was the first to greet the clown. "Hello, we are tonight's visitors," she said in a firm voice, hiding her nervousness. The clown nodded and pointed to a ticket booth with his gloved hand. "The tickets are over there. Enjoy the show, my dears. It's a night you'll never forget." Sarah's friends bought their tickets, and the eerie atmosphere of the circus enveloped them even more as they entered the showgrounds. The sound of dark music and distorted melodies filled the air, and the multicolored tents seemed to come to life in the dark night. Sarah knew the real terror was about to begin, and she was looking forward to it. She promised her friends an experience they would never forget, but she herself was about to discover that the Circus Macabre held secrets far darker than she had ever imagined. As they ventured deeper into the circus, what awaited them was a supernatural nightmare that would challenge their courage and sanity. The interior of the Circus Macabre was a disturbing sight that left every visitor awestruck. The tents were filled with strange attractions and horrors that defied comprehension. The sound of malicious laughter and unsettling murmurs filled the air, creating an ominous atmosphere. The first attraction that caught the group's attention was a dark and narrow maze called Path of Nightmares. A blank-eyed guide dressed in black led them to the maze's entrance and warned them of the dangers that awaited. Sarah, always eager for supernatural challenges, led the group with courage. They entered the labyrinth, and the darkness was suffocating. The only light came from dim, flickering torches on the walls, casting grotesque shadows everywhere. It soon became clear that the Path of Nightmares was a frightening journey. Narrow, winding corridors led them to rooms filled with terrifying illusions. Walls moved, ground opened beneath their feet, and shadowy figures quickly appeared and disappeared. The maze was a test of nerves and courage, and Sarah and her friends began to feel the pressure building. Time seemed distorted inside the maze. Hours passed, but it felt like they were trapped there for an eternity. The screams and moans of the visitors who followed them echoed throughout the maze, adding to the nightmarish feeling. As they progressed, Sarah began to suspect something was wrong. No matter how far they walked, the maze seemed endless. The tension between the friends grew, and they began to question whether they would be able to get out of there. Finally, when everyone was on the verge of despair, they arrived at a brightly lit room. It was a relief, but also a surprise. The room was extravagantly decorated, with red velvet curtains and a full-length mirror in the center. Sarah looked in the mirror and started. His reflected image was not her own, but a distorted and sinister version. She looked at her friends and noticed that they all had distorted and grotesque reflections. Panic spread quickly. They found themselves trapped in the room, unable to leave. It was as if the labyrinth had swallowed them whole. Sarah tried to stay calm and think of a way out, but time was running out. The distorted reflection in the mirror seemed to smile mischievously, as if amused by the group's agony. As their despair grew, they heard footsteps approaching. A whispering voice echoed in the room, muttering indistinct words. Sarah and her friends turned towards the source of the sounds and saw shadows slowly moving towards them. The Circus Macabre maze had a sinister twist they didn't expect. Now, trapped in a room with distorted reflections and mysterious shadows approaching, they faced the unknown with racing hearts and the feeling that something much darker was about to be revealed. Sarah and her friends' hearts beat wildly as the shadows approached. The whispering voices seemed to belong to invisible entities hiding in the darkness. They were trapped in the room with their distorted reflections in the mirror, unable to escape the terrifying situation. Sarah tried to remain calm, remembering her reputation for courage. She decided to take a step forward, approaching the mirror. "Who are you? What do you want?" she asked in a trembling voice. A voice whispered in response, echoing in the room. "We are the ones who have been forgotten, the ones who have been trapped in this cursed circus for eons. But you, brave visitor, have a choice to make." Sarah frowned, confused. "A choice? What do you mean?" The distorted reflection in the mirror began to move, taking on a life of its own. He extended a deformed hand towards Sarah. "You can unlock the secrets of this circus and break the curse that binds us here. Accept our pact, and we will reveal everything." Sarah hesitated for a moment, but her curiosity and desire to overcome the situation prevailed. She looked at her friends, who were watching with worried looks, but nodded. The distorted reflection in the mirror smiled, revealing sharp teeth and empty eyes. "Then the pact is sealed." At that moment, an icy wind filled the room, and Sarah felt something shift inside her. She knew she had made a dark deal, but the promise of unlocking the secrets of the Circus Macabre was irresistible. The shadows retreated and disappeared into the darkness, as if they had fulfilled their end of the bargain. The room returned to its normal appearance, but an uneasy feeling remained. Sarah's friends looked at her with concern, but she reassured them that they now had the key to escaping the maze. They left the room, finding themselves in a hallway they hadn't seen before. The hallway led them to a new attraction called the Circus of Lost Souls. It was a strange and dark spectacle, with grotesque creatures and beings that seemed half human, half ghostly. The watching crowd seemed mesmerized by the freaks on stage. Sarah knew they needed to find a way out of there, but an ominous feeling that they were being watched followed her. She approached the circus guide, a man dressed in an antique jacket and top hat. "How do we get out of here?" she asked, trying to remain calm. The guide smiled enigmatically. "To leave, you must complete a special performance. You must choose one of you to become part of the circus." Sarah was shocked by the proposal and looked at her friends, who were equally distraught. They knew they had no choice but to accept the challenge. A Ferris wheel was brought to the center of the stage, and Sarah realized it was the special attraction. The guide explained that someone would need to get on the wheel and face the unknown. Sarah, driven by her curiosity and the pact she had made, decided to volunteer. She climbed onto the Ferris wheel, which began to slowly rotate. As she climbed, the wheel carried her upward, revealing a terrifying vision, a dark world of lost souls who seemed doomed to wander forever. As Sarah watched the macabre scene below, she realized she had entered an endless nightmare. Her pact with the shadows of the Circus Macabre had led her to an unknown destiny, and the only way to survive was to face the horrors of the circus and discover the truth behind her curse. Sarah was suspended from the Ferris wheel, watching the macabre scene unfold before her eyes. Below, lost souls wandered in agony, their voices whispering stories of tragedy and suffering. She knew she was in a place where the line between the world of the living and the dead had completely blurred. The circus guide watched with an insidious gaze, eager to see how Sarah would fare in the face of the horrors that awaited her. He waved his hand, and the Ferris wheel began to spin faster, making Sarah feel dizzy and disoriented. As the wheel took her closer to the center of the stage, Sarah realized she would have to face a series of terrifying challenges to survive. Grotesque, distorted creatures emerged from the shadows, blocking their path. She had to fight fear and revulsion as she faced these aberrations, knowing that her survival depended on it. Each challenge was more terrifying than the last. Sarah had to cross a dark corridor infested with giant spiders and face a room full of mirrors that distorted her appearance in a grotesque way. She had to cross a rickety bridge over a bottomless pit, while the guide taunted her with ominous words. While facing these challenges, Sarah began to feel the presence of the shadows that had previously helped her. They whispered words of encouragement and guidance, giving him the strength to carry on. She realized that the pact she had made with them was helping her survive in the circus of lost souls. Finally, Sarah arrived at the final challenge, a dark, gloomy room with a giant mirror in the center. Her distorted reflection in the mirror stared back at her with empty eyes and sharp teeth. She knew this was the final confrontation. Sarah approached the mirror, staring at her distorted reflection with determination. She knew she needed to overcome her own fear and accept the truth behind the Circus Macabre. The distorted reflection began to move, twisting and turning into a sinister figure. He was the circus guide, revealing his true form. He smiled mischievously at Sarah. "You have come far, brave visitor," he said. "Now it's time to face reality." The Circus Macabre is not only a place of supernatural horrors, but also a prison for lost souls, doomed to wander forever. Sarah looked around the room and saw the shadows of lost souls, all looking at her with sad eyes. She felt a surge of compassion and empathy for these damned souls. "What do you want from me?" Sarah asked the guide. He took a step forward, eyes shining with mischief. "We want you to break the curse of the Circus Macabre. You have the power, granted by our pact, to unlock the secrets and free the lost souls." Sarah hesitated for a moment, realizing the gravity of her choice. She knew that by breaking the curse, the Circus Macabre would disappear, but she also knew that it would mean the end of the shadows that had helped her. With determination, Sarah accepted the responsibility entrusted to her. She approached the mirror and touched the surface. A blast of supernatural energy erupted from the room, and the Circus Macabre began to crumble around him. The shadows of lost souls broke free, rising into the sky like smoke, finally finding peace. The circus guide screamed in anger, but he could do nothing to stop the circus's collapse. Sarah and her friends were swallowed by a bright light, and later found themselves outside the circus, which was now just a pile of burning wreckage. The nightmare had come to an end. As they watched the Circus Macabre disappear into the night, Sarah knew she had made the right choice. She had broken the curse and freed the lost souls, bringing peace to a place that had long been plunged into darkness. Although the dark pact had been ripped from her, Sarah knew that her courage and compassion would guide her in her future adventures. She left the Circus Macabre behind, certain that the supernatural would always be present in her life, but she was determined to use it for good and to unravel the mysteries of the world around her.